Good morning, children. Today I am sharing with you the second part of this chapter, Money and its Supply. This is chapter 4 from Macroeconomics. In part 1, as we had already discussed certain points of this chapter, I would try to make you recall it fast. The first one was evolution of money. Meaning is, how did money came into existence and what was its need in the economy? Because before the evolution of money, there was a system prevailing in the market which was called as barter system. And we had already seen in the first video of mine where I had discussed all the drawbacks of barter system. In short, I'll just again tell you that barter system is basically exchanging goods for another goods or exchanging goods for service. It had certain drawbacks. To overcome this drawback, money came into existence. And let us see what is the function of money in the economy. Its primary function, also as I had discussed in the previous part, is medium of exchange, and it's you it's considered as measure of value. Money can be easily measured and is a common medium of exchange. No one in the market can deny money because it is readily acceptable by all. It's one of the function of money. The secondary function speaks about money as deferred payment, which also we had discussed earlier. It speaks about that how money can be paid in the future, or how can money be paid in the future transactions with the calculation of interest. And so this was the secondary function of money. And the last function, as we had discussed earlier, was money as store of value, because money has a function which can be easily stored and it does not require a big space. So money is also having a function that it can be easily stored as value without losing its value. Whereas if we compare it with any goods like maybe wheat, if we store wheat, it requires more space, and if that wheat gets spoiled due to rain or water or rodents, then it loses its value. So this is the secondary function which overrules all the drawbacks of barter system. Now, in this part 2 of my video, I am taking you to some of the good qualities of money. And these good qualities make money as a medium of exchange which is readily acceptable. The first quality of good money is general acceptability. Meaning is that this money is readily acceptable by all, by the dealers, by the people, by bank. So it is acceptable by all and no one can deny taking money from anyone. So this is the first good quality of money, that it is generally acceptable. Second one, the good quality speaks about that it is portability, that could be easily taken from one place to another. As we all know that today we need not have to carry money in the form of currency. It could be easily be carried in the form of debit and credit cards or in the form of checks and demand draft. So after having that facility, money could be easily portable from one place to another. The third important quality of good money is that it is durable. Meaning is that when we talk about money in the form of paper, coins, it's quite durable and long lasting. And even if they are damaged, we can exchange it through bank and get a new coin or currency. So it's quite durable if it is handled in a proper manner. So this is the third important quality of good money. We go to the fourth quality, which tells us about homogeneity. Modern money is homogeneous and uniform in value. For example, it has a similar structure, shape, size, and if you have 250,000 bills notes, they should be worth the same amount what is written on those bills. So that homogeneity of money or paper currency states that it is easily acceptable, easily uh, acceptable by all people because it is of a similar structure, shape, and size. Last, we come to its stability of value. The meaning is that the good money has its value, which is quite stable. It doesn't loses its value as we have seen in the form of barter system. In barter system, if we have some goods and if that goods get spoiled, it loses its value. Whereas in money, the value of money, it's stable and remains the same. So that is one of the good quality of money, that is stability of value. Now we try to understand what is the legal definition of money or legal tender of money. We know that money basically is issued by government as a medium of exchange in the form of currencies, checks, and other forms of coins and demand draft. So as a legal tender, no one in the market or in the economy or in the world can deny taking or accepting this money as a legal tender of exchange. So this is the legal money issued by the government, and every country has its own legal tender. For example, in India, we call money as rupees. In USA, it has been termed as dollar, and this legal tender money in Japan is known as yen. So it has been legally circulating in the economy. Then we go to its functional definition, and under the functional definition we go to the first important concept of money, which says that M1 form of money, in which it in formula says like C plus DD plus OD. C is the currency held by people. All the currencies held by people in the economy in a country is talking about C. Then comes the demand draft or DD. It's not exactly the form of bank demand draft. It is talking about the net demand deposit of bank. The net demand deposit of bank means every people from the country in the form of household or industry, when they deposit money in the bank, that demand deposit which has been done in the bank is been considered as DD. Then we come to OD, which are other deposits which are held by RBI. These are the deposits of government institutions like IDBI, Industrial Development Bank of India, or it could be deposits of World Bank or International Monetary Fund with RBI. So, as per the 12th syllabus, M1 form of money is equal to C plus DD plus OD. I'm again repeating, C plus DD plus OD. C is equal to currency held by the people of the country. DD is the total deposit done by people and the industries into the bank of the country, and the other deposits which are held by RBI. Now we move to the last part of the money, how money is been classified as per its standard and different forms it holds in the economy. The first one says about the standard and token coin. Basically, if we try to understand the difference here, the standard coins were those coins which were made by silver or gold, and the value of that coin was equal to the value written on those coins. For example, in India before 1880s, silver coin of rupee 1 was a standard coin, and its silver content could be sold in the open market for the same amount. The meaning is that the coin, the silver inside that coin was also of the same value, and the amount written on that coin was also of the same value. That is standard coin. But in token coin is just opposite. For example, if we talk about the present coins of 1 rupee, 2 rupees and 5 rupees coins we are talking about, all Indian coins are token coins because their face value, maybe the 1 rupee coin, 2 rupee or 5 rupee, its face value is much higher than the value of material which it is made up of. I'll again try to make you clear. Today 1 rupee, 2 rupees or 5 rupee coins, if you try to melt and sell it in the market, the value of that coin after melting will be much less than the value which is written on that coin. So these coins are token coins whose intrinsic value is much more, their face value is much more than the material inside it is made up of. Then we go to the credit money. Credit money refers to money whose face value is again higher than its intrinsic value. For example, we have in the modern age, most of the transactions which are performed with the help of credit money, it also includes drafts, pay orders, currency notes. So if you make a demand draft of 50,000, that demand draft value is not much if you try to sell that demand draft, but the value, face value, which is written on the demand draft is much higher than the value of that paper on which the demand draft is made. So again, the credit money is having face value which is higher than its intrinsic value. The last two types of money is fiat money. Fiat money is paper currency that derives its value from government. Any paper currencies like 2 rupees, 5 rupee note, 10 rupees, 100 rupees, which are issued by the government, become as fiat money, and they are the legal tender issued by the government. Then we come to the last part, which is called as fiduciary money. So it is a voluntary money generally accepted on the basis of trust by the acceptor, such as draft, checks, bill of exchange. As we all know that the check of 50,000, when it is issued, it is accepted by another person because it is accepted by trust that that check of 50,000 could be converted if it is been placed in the bank, and that check of 50,000 could be converted into 50,000 as cash or could be deposited in the bank. So there are certain values or acceptors like drafts, checks, bill of exchange, which are accepted as the basis of trust, and that comes into the last part of classification of money, which is called as fiduciary money. So I hope students, please refer to this chapter and try to understand the basic function of money in our economy and how money is very useful in our day-to-day life. God bless you all.